what is the academic definition of Kansas City style jazz?
Well, academically, I guess, it's been broken down by some uh, reviewers or critics or whatever they call themselves, jazz musicologists. And one of the things was during the early days of the development of the music, a lot of the players played more of a 2/4 kind of thing. And Kansas City, with this blues influence, was more 4 beats to the bar, so you were keeping time and moving 4 bars. And the blues was a basic part of the Kansas City style and the Kansas City sound. I always like to point out, too, is the fact that coming from the different parts of the country, the styles of jazz that emanated from, there's a fallacy in my opinion, and it's one that has been studied and talked over with numerous individuals who were there. But there's always this tendency to think that New Orleans is the birthplace of jazz, and that's not true, because it's basically wherever there were people of African descent, there was some form of improvised hot music going on. We must talk about the roots that produce the fruits. Very, very important. And so that people, there's always been a tendency for people to latch on to various forms of African American culture and attempt to act as though they may have been the inventors. But that's all right, but let's don't forget the truth. The truth will set you free. And this syncopated music and the people dancing. But it was always an interactive thing. So the musicians, we always got our, inspiration from the dancers and all the people, the hipsters that were always on the scene that knew what was happening with the music, and they knew all the leading players and their styles and their sounds. So that was always a part of it too, So it was the interplay and the conversation between the musicians as well as the people in the audience was always a very fertile thing.
That's good.
To it. And that's another thing. The dancers are always a part of the development of the music early on. And of course, later on, as the bebop, even at the bebop dances, there were the people doing the Lindy Hoppers and all of that to bebop. But as they moved into some of the modal and the so-called avant-garde style of jazz, it became more of a listener's type of thing where people would be sitting in a club or a concert hall and just sitting down and listening to the music and